You didn't have people coming into Texas. You didn't have guests coming in. And the Texas guys really didn't get out. So to me, the beauty of the wild card is that you have a chance to test your mettle. If you're saying you're the best, you have a chance to test yourself against one of the best from outside of Texas as well. What is being the best in Texas, right? What is being the top guy in Texas? The wild card kind of gives you a gauge of, okay, well, if the wild card guy is coming in and killing us, we got work to do. But if our guy is able to go up against the best from every area of Texas, and he's able to go ahead and get past a guy from outside of Texas, I think that just makes it more legitimate. That's the best guy that we got, right?
It is that time of year here in the Texas wrestling scene, and the Texas 8, it's on its second year, and we have a new set of participants who are representing 7 regions in Texas. And we have that wild card, which will be discussed at a later episode. And of course, we wouldn't have a Texas 8 without one of the guys here in this tournament in Biss. And you are a regular now, so you have more than 2 appearances. So you're now a show regular. But every time we talk, whether it's in a short form or just breaking down what the tournament is, it's always a pleasure to really break down this tournament with you.
I get to come to you from the New Texas Austin office too. Usually I'm at the old shoot job, hold away in some hallway or something. So it's nice to be at home doing that for sure.
It's the immersion. It's the immersion of the tournament. And the Texas 8, we knew Danny Orion was going to be the one winning the entire thing. And of course, what were some of those highlights for you seeing the Texas 8 last year in the Empire Control Room?
Yeah, it was my favorite show last year, if I'm being completely honest. I had a lot of really cool moments last year, and last year was a really cool year for me. But the Texas 8 was the top of the list for me as far as the things that we did and the shows that we did. I thought it was really cool. When I came on to New Texas, it was a concept that Kiefer had, and to be allowed as much freedom as I was to play with it, I really appreciate. And it's a special place in my heart to have had the amount of input I was allowed to have on what was, basically Kiefer's baby was the idea of this Texas 8. And for him to allow me that leeway to have that much input, we'd work together, but very brand new to working for New Texas was very cool.
Were those for those participants, and having that flagship within the regions, and it's covering all of Texas. Do you think that the people who were picked last year was it worthy for them to represent those regions?
Yeah, I think that overall, in the story of the year and the story of what was going on in those regions, I think we got the right folks. I know, I just have this natural ability to catch heat whenever we are picking wrestlers or putting people on a list or whatever, which is fine with me. I 100% think that we made the right choices. There's nobody from that list where I really feel like we should have picked somebody else for that region. I think we got, the person that was the most representative of that scene, right? For each of those different scenes, I think we got the rep that was doing the most in that area. So that was very important to me, and I think that I'm very happy with what we did there.
Because I was thinking about, of course, like every show will have some stumbling blocks and some of those shortcomings in every show. What were some of those roadblocks that made you think, okay, this year for this Texas 8, I know what I can do better? Or if there's something that you want to keep rolling with that tournament, what would be that type of lesson for you to say, okay, let's do it for this year. Let's make it better.
Yeah, one of the big things that stands out, and you saw that we did this year, we reevaluated the regions to make sure that they made sense. And for example, the Central Texas region isn't part of the tournament this year. And it's just something that we looked at, and we didn't see the competition level we saw in the other areas. And then we also, once we did it, we had a lot of interest from outside the state. So how do we handle that? Are we going to
Mm,
say, hey, we're never going to have somebody from outside of Texas? So we had the wild card, and Tim was honestly the choice from Jump Street.
right.
So I know that Shimbashi has a lot to say now that he's an Ohio guy. He thought that he'd be the perfect
Mm.
person for a wild card. Um, don't get me wrong, I'm very pro Shimbashi, but Tim was the person we had in mind with what he was doing down in action from the jump. So just definitely learn that, hey, we can't just pigeonhole us into this certain formula. We've got to take a look at it every year and pick the regions that make the most sense.
With outsiders, I know that it adds intrigue to any tournament. And for something that's someone from the outside, um, how do you keep the stakes on a tournament like that just so that it will engage so many people to see a show like that?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is when I first started off, Texas was very isolationist. You didn't have people coming into
Mm,
Texas. You didn't have guests coming in, and the Texas guys really didn't get out. So to me, the beauty of the wild card is that you have a chance to test your mettle. If you're saying you're the best, you have a chance to test yourself against one of the best from outside of Texas as well. What is being the best in Texas, right? What is being the top guy in Texas? The wild card kind of gives you a gauge of, okay, well, if the wild card guy is coming in and killing us, we got work to do. But if our guy is able to go up against the best from every area of Texas, and he's able to go ahead and get past a guy from outside of Texas, I think that just makes it more legitimate. That's the best guy that we got, right?
I was thinking because it would really make things it'll keep like whoever is in that tournament or maybe even outside that, and it will make them hungry as like, why is this outsider here? Why is Tim suddenly in our radar for a tournament that is um exclusively within the Texans? It just makes them hungrier to really keep doing their best. So if the tournament happens for a third year, you see the competition within each other, within Texas, and whoever that outsider is, or if there is a dark horse with outside of Texas, it just makes them hungrier to really grind and do their best as professional wrestlers within the scene here in Texas.
Oh, we heard instant feedback from the Texas boys about the wild card, right? So,
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, but this young up and coming crew of guys is very vocal, and they are very adept at social
Mm.
media. So they have no problem letting you know how horrible of a job that you're doing. Um, but yeah, we heard about that right away. You know, and like that's the crazy thing is like after the first year, now people know what this thing is, and there's a lot more competition to get in it. So we get a lot more of that
Mm.
pushback. So when we do the third year, I think just by how much reaction and how much it added to competition, we'll definitely be doing the wild card again. So
Yeah. So this year we it's a different region. It's a different bracket that's been put in place, and you have the privilege of hearing the loudest scene out of the Texas 8. And we're local. We're here in Austin, and we've heard the same guys from last year who are wanting to go this year, the likes of a Travis Cuddy and some of the rising stars within Austin with karaoke. But you chose Ollie Summers, and Ollie has been doing a lot as a singles wrestler for quite some time after doing tag team work with Culture Shock. Um, what was the not vitriol? I would say what was the noise leading up to Ollie being the representative in Austin, and what was that like to really have him be the representative in Austin?
well, I mean, I vitriol might be the right word. Like,
Oh, all
you know,
right. All right.
it,
Okay.
it's crazy to me because like when I first started, there were guys that had been wrestling for 10 years that they were still
Mm.
scratching clawing for spots. All these been around for 5 years, and you got these guys that have been around for 2 and 3 years going, hey, why is this old man taking our spot? Right. which is insane when
Right.
you really think about it. Like Ollie's just starting to start to begin to get into his peak, right? Ollie's a young cat in the grand scheme of wrestling, but you've got this really hungry group of guys from Austin. And the names that we've already mentioned, I only have to really mention them, but there's a ton of other guys too that we haven't mentioned that are part of this Austin scene that are super hungry and super I've never seen Austin be so like, look at me. Where when I first started, people didn't even know there was wrestling in Austin. But I mean, you got guys like Travis
Right.
that he's going viral and he's getting attention. And he's like, damn it, like I've got all these eyeballs on me, and Ollie Summers doesn't. What the hell? And then you got a guy like Prince Karaoke, and I don't know if I have the chops to handle a Prince Karaoke because this kid's a rookie, right? And he wants everything. He wants the world. He thinks that he should be in world title shots. He probably thinks that he should be winning
Mm.
world titles, right? And he's a year in, and I've said it, and I've probably gassed him up some. That kid's to me has taken the wrestling faster than anybody, but it's a
Hmm.
slow journey, right? It's a long, long trek in this business, and you have these young guys, and then you have the guy like Mo Kelly, who has been around for a little bit. I say that comparatively to the other guys, but has really found his footing recently, and is a
Mm.
unique character, unique set of skills, a unique athlete that's just a little bit different than everybody else. When it really came down
Hmm.
to it, Ollie Summers was the pick for a lot of the intangibles that Ollie brings to the table. Ollie was helping at the school. Ollie was very involved with that. Ollie was a good rep for the community. Ollie was a good rep um, as far as putting wrestling out into the community. And when it came
Hmm.
down to it, it felt like that was really important things to consider. Um, you know, did we consider those in all territories? Well, I don't have the same insight, right? So,
Hmm.
Houston and Austin, it's crazy because we have a little bit closer, view on these guys. Um, the other territories we're kind of relying on the information that comes into us, but being so closely involved with the Austin scene, we were able to consider kind of those intangibles and pick Ollie Summers.
So it's more than just like the move set. There's always going to be involvement within the city limits, and to know that like everyone can have their moment to shine, but for some reason, well, not for some reason, you see Ali being the leader of the pack in Austin and saying, "Hey, we have we have all these like it factors for him to be that representative." And it's more than just a move set. It's what's going on outside of the ring that makes him that representative.
Yeah, and we'll get to it, but maybe the answer is like we need to start having these qualifying shows and these qualifying matches
Mm.
to get in there, because what we really want the Texas 8 to be is that when you watch it, you get an idea of all the different styles that Texas has to offer. And Ollie was the guy that we picked. We just recently announced that Ollie's going to be wrestling Vinny Massaro in Vegas.
Right.
Vinny is such a flag bearer for the San Francisco scene. Ollie to me is the guy in Texas that most represents his scene. So Ollie also fits that category too, where if you look at Ollie, you understand kind of the vibe of what's going on in Austin. And that's a big thing too. You know, a year from now, that could easily be a Travis Cuddy or a Karaoke or a Mo Kelly, right? And I think
Right.
this region's only going to get harder and harder to pick.
Right. Because you see, like everyone has has that factor of like they could be the representative in Austin. And you mentioned how the qualifier is happening. We're going to move up north in Dallas,
Yeah.
and when we were by the time we record this, the qualifier between Exodus Prime, who is the representative in Dallas, and Chosen, who is really on the up and up, and seeing him in the New Texas Austin shows, like you see both of these guys are going to be toe to toe with them being in Dallas. What makes both of those guys really that guy who will eventually represent Dallas?
It's a story of two different guys, right? Now Dallas is another crazy territory as well, because I mean these are the two that we kind of settled on, but there's
Right.
some really talented guys up in Dallas too. Like what MPX is doing up there, I can't talk about it enough. Like what Athena's doing with those shows, and just their name being on the tip of the tongue of anyone talking about independent wrestling is really cool. So to get to be
Mm-hmm.
involved with MPX, I have a long history with both Athena and Matthew Palmer. So to have them
Right.
host this first qualifying match that we've ever done for the Texas 8 is really cool, because I think us and the MPX team have very similar visions for what Texas can be and how great Texas really can be, because we're just scratching the surface, honestly. When you talk about Exodus Prime's a guy that should be on TV every week. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think 30 years ago there'd be a slam dunk he'd be on TV every week, right? And he was the rep last year, and he really hasn't fallen off at all. He's consistently performed at that level that he performed at last year, and to be completely honest, we were 100% ready to say, hey, there's going to be two guys in this tournament that are repeat members. But LVJ came on late. Has been around all year. Was coming off an injury around the time of the Texas 8 last year, and once he came back and once he
I
was
see.
100%, just was kind of undeniable. Did a lot of really cool things, and was the first kind of one to do it. We announced this new initiative, and LVJ was the first one to go, hey, I want to be out in San Francisco, right? Went out
Mm,
there, did the Iron Sharpens Iron shows on Monday, made a big impression out in San Francisco, right? Has made big impressions on every show he's been on, right? Maya World was banging the desk for this guy, banging the table, saying, hey, you got to bring LVJ in, and finally did it herself, quite frankly, right? Just brought LVJ to the
mm,
show and said, he's with me, he's part of my crew. And then he's in a tag match with Maya. He gets a bone thrown his way and he kills it, right? So it's kind of
right.
like this rocket pack on LVJ, and those were the two. They had the big blow up at the Audacity of Hope, and it just kind of made sense. Though, okay, let's see these two. If LVJ thinks that he's that guy, let's let him go prove it in the ring. And if X is the guy that we think he is, he's going to take care of business in Dallas, and he will be the first to be a multiple time participant in the Texas State.
Because what's nice with Chosen is I ran photos with Audacity of Hope, and seeing him propel from that tag match from White Elephant, like both of these guys could be representatives, but it's always the one step for both of them to go over to represent Dallas. And X as and of course adding up to Global Wars with MPX and with ROH, it shows that it's beyond the city that the wrestling scene is being represented. It's somewhere bigger, and both of them could be represented, but it has to decide on this one match come Saturday.
And the cool thing too is, he was in there with Johnny Robbie, who may be the best unsigned wrestler on the independents right now.
Mm,
And he didn't look like
right.
he was out of his league. Maya World is on TV now. She is a TV wrestler, and Johnny's right there behind her. Johnny is so talented, and for my money, the best unsigned wrestler right now. If I'm missing
Mm-hmm.
somebody, I apologize, but forefront of my mind is that
The
Johnny
comment
Robbie,
section will say that.
yeah, Johnny Robbie should have a TV contract. Um, and LVJ fit right in, you know. And then, you know, both Ollie and LVJ weren't super stoked on Izzy inserting himself in that match. You know, those are two guys that were chirping at each other. And, you know, Izzy was coming back from the Noah. You don't keep a guy that's a number one contender and coming back from a tour of Japan off of a show. But that's kind of where these guys are at, man. They don't care about what the other guys are doing. They're so focused on what they're doing and what they want to accomplish. And, you know, I think down the road, we're probably going to see LVJ and Ollie kind of have to go one-on-one to settle some of that stuff that got said. It wasn't the nicest things that LVJ had to say about Ollie, right?
And of course, like X has his place already because he did the Texas 8 last year. So it's possible that he might show up being in Dallas as well. And to go south, we'll hit up RGV and Laredo. Epi went all the way to the finals and went toe to toe with Danny Orion, who's representing West Texas. And Decimus was kind of the next follow up, and in a series of people in Laredo and the RGV. And seeing him in Baracho, that's where I got to know him a bit better in terms of how he does things in the ring from what you see in Laredo and with the RGV. And a lot of the talent has sprout up from that area with the Roxanne Perez and the Raquel Rodriguez. What makes Decimus that representative within that area?
I mean, you said it right there. It really was Lalo in the Lucha division in Bracho. You know, I moonlight over there as a third chair commentator. I've slowly pushed myself away from play by play, and I enjoy third chair quite a bit because I get to do my scouting job there, right? And you know, they're having these crazy lucha matches, and I got to watch literally a whole year worth. And the name that kept popping up was Decimus, right? Decimus. And then Cuervo was snapping at the heels. So when we saw that they were going to do the Lucha Extrema, we basically said, okay, if Decimus can put Cuervo away, Decimus is the guy. And it's like, okay, if he can't put him away, right, then what do we do? And it's like, well, we got to give it to Cuervo at that point because he vanquished him, right? So basically, we went in that saying, okay, whoever can win this Lucha Extrema, that's who we want representing the Rio Grande Valley. You know, it's 2 years in a row. It's Laredo. Let me tell you about McAllen, man. McAllen is chirping as well because they're saying, hey, we're down here too, and they're the very far end of it. We're in the thick of it. We want to represent too, right? So, I haven't had a chance to see all those guys live like I have the Laredo guys. I have seen footage. I stand by our choice of Decimus. But man, that might be an area that's super competitive next year. But yeah, Decimus was the star of Lalo's Racho Lucha division. Really shined through every chance, shined through at the Indie Showcase, which is huge for us. And and he was the guy. If he could win that Lucha Extrema, he took care of business. And then, man, it was really cool for me to let Lalo be the one to announce that because he put so much work in that Lucha division. He brought so much attention to Lucha Libre wrestling all the way up here in Austin. Sometimes it doesn't travel all the way up here. You know, you see it in San Antonio. Lalo busted his ass to bring those guys up here and show what they could do. So it's really cool for him to be able to announce that live at a Baracho show too. You know, we've got this initiative and we're working with these guys all over the country, but there's guys here at home that we love to work with. You know, United 210, Baracho, Blackbird. There's probably some stuff coming. And then you know, we got MPX up north. You know, and there's just a ton of really cool promoters in Texas as well that it's fun to work with and not be at each other's throats.
Everyone has a seat in the table here in the state. And I think we may not get like the promotions that we see. Like for me, I mean, I have an issue just going to McAllen and like Fortuna, Combat Cult. All of those guys are having these opportunities here in the city that they want to go out. They want to make their places known, and like we're fortunate to have Laredo at least having that, at least that entryway for everyone to see that this area does exist. But there's also promotions that may not see the light of day because yeah, we're both from Austin and we have to go out of our way to drive 5 hours. But some wrestlers do drive 5 hours to go to a combat cult, or if Fortuna starts up again, that they may have that chance to drive up 5 hours and work in Austin. So the seat, the table is still big. It's just yeah, the net gets a little bit thinner and thinner, but they want to be in this type of competition like the Texas 8.
Man, and you mentioned Combat Cult. Talk about a company that's run extremely well, right? And we talked about Mo Kelly in the Austin area. Mo Kelly really found his footing and found himself down in Combat Cult, right? So we reaped the rewards, but it was really those long car drives down there to McAllen, and whatever happened at Combat Cult, all of a sudden McKelly started feeling himself, right? So it's really cool to have good promotions all across the state that guys get to work with different guys and learn different things. And Combat Cult's been a huge plus on the scene for Texas wrestling.
And someone from Austin actually is having opportunities, like in Prince Karaoke, which we mentioned earlier in the conversation. He's getting his reps and opportunities in Combat Cult, and he's going places as well, in terms of what he's doing, along with Mo Kelly, along with like a Luke Cameron, who's Kamikaze Click is the tag champs over Combat Cult. So you get to see like how much of the work has been paid off, even though they're really local, but to branch out into something that's outside of their comfort zone, and look where they're at now.
Yeah, I mean these guys have to get out, right? Eventually they have to go see new pastures and see how they stack up with everybody else. If you're the best guy in your hometown and you never leave, you're not going to be the best guy for long, because somebody's going to go get those experiences and be better than you in a heartbeat, right? So,
and I was going to ask before we even delve to San Antonio, because I think a lot of people do get turned away with, and we mentioned Austin being the more vocal out of the regions that we're talking about, to give that note of like, we'll put you somewhere down the line, or maybe the next Texas 8. How do you deal with those types of messages or voicemail saying, we would love to, but there's someone representing that city?
I leave them on red. No,
wow. Yeah, I mean, all right.
Look, competition is king, right? So right. we set out to do this thing to be the best, right? We set out this thing to be the New York Yankees. And only one person can play first base, so we try to remove any biases, right? We try to make it as fair as possible. And at the end of the day, man, your work's just got to speak for itself. And, I say all that and it breaks my heart, because look, those other guys in Austin are busting their asses. Like Travis Cuddy is busting his ass. Karaoke's a pain in my ass, but he's busting his ass. He's working hard, right?
Right.
Mo Kelly, I've watched that kid literally blood, sweat, and tears trying to make this thing work. And, to then go, hey, it's all a competition. Hey, maybe I don't, that's what keeps me up at night, is like, did I miss something? Right. And the more competition we have, the harder it's going to be. But the main shows are the same way, right?
Right.
The shows in between these specialty shows are the same way. There's only so many spots, right? I can't run a show that's 4, 5, 6 hours long. I can only have so many guys on a show. And there's competition for those spots too. I mean, there's guys that are left off of those that are going, what the hell? And it's only going to make everybody better if they know the right way to approach it. If they want to blame other things, if they want to blame other people, it's not going to help them at all. But if they look inward and they go, okay, I'm going to change this, this, and this, and I'm going to be undeniable so that the next show, they'd be crazy not to have me. Man, that's only going to make better wrestling. And that's only going to be better for the fans. That's only going to be better for the guys because they're going to be at a higher level and be more sought after. That's really where it is. There's not really much that I can say to these guys or soothe, egos or emotion other than, hey, this time wasn't the time, right? Um, you know what you got to do for next time. Go make it a hard choice for me, or go make it a choice where I'd be crazy not to choose you, right?
Right. Now we're at the tail end of this, and San Antonio is kind of an interesting scene as well. And we both go out of our way to see like a United or a Blackbird, or if you go even deeper, like a Dog Pound or an RCW. And San Antonio is in that same stratosphere with the wrestling scene. We had Ren Sinclair. Manny Brankowski is out in San Antonio as well. And Casey was there last year, but there's someone familiar that many people will know, but we'll put the other guys who are rising stars like a Brock Ali, a Jay Young. But besides those two, Jesse Funaki was there at the beginning, and he was one of the first few announcements that are there. I'll ask this differently with Jesse, and he has a lineage. Of course, his dad is Sho Funaki, like the most one of the most entertaining wrestlers that I've seen, and what you've seen as well. Did that really factor in why he's that representative in San Antonio?
If his name was Jesse Smith, he would still be the pick.
Okay.
Jesse is just, when I say, hey, go out there and make me look like an idiot if I don't pick you, that's exactly what Jesse did this past year, right?
I see.
Casey Blackrose was a great representative of San Antonio. He was the face of San Antonio last year, right? And those two guys are running mates. They were, and they had a little tiff with New Texas, but man,
Right.
Jesse took it to the next level. And maybe the reason he was able to is those genetics and who his dad is and coming up and being around the business growing up. But Jesse's put in the work to be that guy.
Right.
Jesse's not out there doing an homage to his dad, right? Jesse's out there busting his ass, meat and potatoes, fundamental wrestling, and it kicks ass. It's awesome. We need more of it in professional wrestling. And he just made that choice for San Antonio. You couldn't pick anybody else but Jesse. Jesse was the guy. It had to be Jesse, right? And my heart breaks for someone like Devin Carter, who
Yep.
is also busting her ass, and just hits a home run every time out, right? And maybe if you put them in a tournament and you say, hey, go out there, maybe, like the NCAA tournament, maybe there's an upset and Devin picks it up. But, we're the BCS. We got to make one choice and make it count.
Yeah,
And,
right.
Jesse was number one ranked all year long, undefeated. You got to pick Jesse. That's a football reference, not a stat reference. Don't go back and look at cage backs and tell me, right? We're doing college football here, but yeah, it had to be Jesse, and Jesse's had just such a great year and grown so much so quickly as a professional wrestler. It just was a no brainer that for San Antonio, it had to be Jesse.
And you got to credit like Hybrid as well, because like even though, well, Sho is one of the coaches as well, but for Don Juan and Coach Marvel, for Jesse to really lay out, and it's kind of like with APW with the Travis Cuddys and the Mo Kellys, and the karaoke's of Austin, like you get to see the foundation of how Jesse is, and it goes past like what his dad has already done, because he's forging that path on his own with having that foundation from Don Juan and with Coach Marble, and that's why he's a representative in San Antonio, eventually leading up to the Texas 8.
Well, I will never give Don Juan credit. So we'll just throw that out
Oh,
there to
okay.
begin with. Absolutely not.
Sorry.
But yeah, like the other names that we're mentioning, right? They're all hybrid, right? So hybrid really, they have a really strong school down there. They have a really strong program, and they're pumping out super talented wrestlers that um it's no surprise that the last 2 years the representative from San Antonio has been a hybrid graduate, right?
The Empire has been kind of like the legacy venue that we've had here in Austin, all the way to Inspire. And to have that venue change to that, what makes Backwood such a venue that you would like to have the New Texas Austin shows
Number
for the
one, they
most part
pay their
this year?
employees, so that's helpful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
not to get too much into politics of the Empire stuff, but that was really a shitty situation. Um, I
I see.
like just the atmosphere. So somebody, and I'm sure Kiefer, because I think it was Kiefer that said this. It looks like a
Mm,
creator arena for a Texas Independent. Like the Backwood Bar
right.
looks like it's like if you were playing a video game and you were in the career mode and they're like, oh, we're going to send you to the Texas Indies. That would be the arena for like that story arc.
I
So
see.
it's really kind of very, very Texas. It feels very Texas. And we think that that's pretty cool. And there's a giant video board, which makes Dan Miller happy. So, I think, right.
That is such a Dan Miller thing.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And fortunately I was able to secure that building right around the time a lot of the drama with Empire happened. I have a ton of fond memories of Empire. I got my start in Austin wrestling was at Mohawk down on Red River,
Right.
Austin. So there was always something special about looking up and seeing the Austin skyline while running wrestling, and it being
Yep.
shows that I was running. So that will always have a special place in my heart. But not doing business with the group that was being shitty to their employees, I won't miss that part at all. Right.
And it's a nice place too. And the golden hour at Backwood was like, wow, I've never seen like that type of like a setting when the main event happens and golden hour just shows up out of nowhere. Like it's a nice addition to what's been happening over in New Texas and Austin.
Yeah, the vibes are nice. For sure.
Yeah.
We got to get you out to the deathmatch shows, man, because the we always have a cool
Oh,
sunset on a deathmatch show too. Um, but yeah,
oh my
no, it's
God,
really cool
sign
to
me
have
up.
that nice setting, right?
Texas 8 is happening, and we have 2 more episodes down the line. So you have the floor. Hype us up in the tournament. If there's anything that you would like to announce, or just give us an overall like vibe on what's going to happen come Sunday.
So, I mean, the tournament you guys know from last year, the tournament, especially the tournament matches, were some of the best matches and the best show. I'm really stoked on Jordan Blade versus Charity King. So Charity
Oh
just picked up the
yeah,
women's title, and to have, you know, as a white cis mostly heterosexual male, I live life on easy mode. But what
I
I have
see.
learned over my years in wrestling is how much representation really matters and how awesome it is for somebody to be able to see themselves in wrestling and have somebody that can connect to with that. And, to have Charity King and Jordan Blade that are not your stereotypical women's wrestlers going out there and competing for this belt that some of the best women in wrestling have held, and such a crazy lineage. And look, Vert Vixen had a crazy like Kobashi like run
Yep.
with that women's title. Um, so much so that she was frustrated that we weren't bringing more competition in, right? She
Mm-hmm.
ate through everybody. She was able to beat Charity before winning the belt. Beat, you know, had 2 wins over Charity. So this is kind of like an MMA where you come back to a fight again, but Charity picked up the win this time. So
Yep.
to have that cool, you know, title match on this show is just kind of like a cherry on top, right? And it really is a match. I call it a, we know ball type match because that,
Yep.
that matchup is crazy. Like you just saw Mark Henry endorse Charity King,
I
right?
was just gonna say that.
And, I've, Jordan Blade, has knocked women out. It's going to be a pro wrestling match. It's 2
Yep.
women. They just happen to be 2 women that are going to be in a very pro wrestling match, and I'm super excited for it. I'm super happy for Charity because Charity is such a team player, and that she could have easily turned away and when she lost to Vert the 2 times, could have easily said, well, I'll go over and I'll do this or I'll change up, but just kept busting her ass and working at it. And I'm so happy that she was able to capture that title. And it's not going to be easy. I can promise you that. So, and then, on the topic of title matches, you know, uh, Danny O'Ryan won this tournament last year and he was able to call his shot, and is now challenging for the new Texas heavyweight title at the Texas 8. And I don't. It's the Audacity of Hope was a fun name, but we've had this hope that people could vanquish Manders. Whether it be Q, whether it be Dimitri, whether it be Izzy, and there's a little bit of danger in investing, but that's what wrestling's all about. How cool would
Yep.
it be if Danny could win that title on the same event that kind of put him on the map for New Texas last year, and it really kind of helped skyrocket him in other areas by winning that tournament that
Mm-hmm.
some other folks noticed around the world, right? So those 2 title matches are really cool. There's another match that has come up in the last couple of
Oh.
weeks. We're hearing some rumblings of some stuff that we're going to have to throw on there as well, just to let 2 guys go and settle something. So you're going to get a little something extra. We got to make sure that everything's, T's are crossed and I's are dotted on this thing. But yeah, there's obviously, according, from what I've heard, there's some issues between 2 guys that aren't publicly known now. So you'll probably be seeing that coming out because they're too vocal. Well, one of them's very vocal, and the other doesn't have any problem
Right.
responding. So I think you will see that maybe by the time that you see this interview. But I think that's going to lead to 2 guys having to settle it in the ring.
We have 2 more episodes down the line, and we're going to move to Kiefer Bartek, who will discuss the other regions. And I'm sure he's gonna have the match card ready down the line. And our participant, I will keep that a mystery, but it will be up on Friday on April 3rd, just 2 days before the tournament. And Biss, as always, it's been a pleasure talking Texas 8, talking Texas wrestling with you. And I will say this every year that we talk, I will give you your flowers and how much of an impact that you've had in the wrestling scene. Vitriol and all that.
These young guys don't care, but yeah, no, thank you very much. It means the world to me. Yeah, thank you.
So for those who are tuning here on YouTube, stay tuned for the episode this Wednesday, and we have their participant here on Friday. So we'll sign off on this interview with Biss, and we'll be on to the next one in about 2 days.